Hey everyone, welcome back to another Tic Tac Taiko. This week's drill is all about nuance. It's really easy to understand, but it can be really tricky to pull off well. So introducing the shifting hit. Before I forget, don't forget to give me a thumbs up by hitting that like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, why not do that now? For the most part, a taiko player will play with the metronome or play with other people, whether it's practice or performance. There are a few occasions when a metronome isn't needed, when a player isn't needed, when you're practicing endurance or speed or specific technique. But in general, we have something to follow. And so the default for pretty much everyone is to be as exact as possible. You want to hit right on that downbeat, whatever that downbeat might be, whether it's a single beep, beep, beep from a metronome, or a dongo or donsuku, or some G, some backbeat in the background played on shimedaiko or metal, whatever. We're listening to something and trying to match it up exactly. But there are occasions when you might not want to hit exactly on the downbeat. When, why, and how? Well, that's what this week's video is about. I'm going to introduce a lot of you to the shifting beat. It's not a technical term, it's just the one I came up with. I'm going to demonstrate what it sounds like, tell you how to do it, and then explain why you might want to. So let's get into it. The idea of the shifting beat is simple. If I have my solid, straightforward downbeat, this is what I'm trying to aim for every single time, I might want to shift where I'm playing in relation to that. A little bit behind, a little bit ahead. Now, what makes a shifting beat a little versus a whole 16th note is very subjective. If I'm playing at a very slow tempo or moderately slow, it's easy to identify where that 16th note might be and play somewhere in between. If it's at a fast tempo and those beats are really close together, it's hard to tell, am I shifting or am I just playing that very next note? And now you can get really technical and say, well, yeah, you've got 16th notes, you've got 32nd notes, you've got 64th notes, etc., etc. But in general, a little bit one way or the other is shifting the beat, and you're not trying to make the next note over. So now that I've told you what it is, let me show you what it sounds like. I'm going to play a really short demo, and I'm going to play a simple downbeat. I'll start playing right on the beat, and then I'll start to shift slightly one way, slightly the other way. I want you to listen carefully, and headphones or earbuds might help to see if you can tell which way I'm shifting and when. Now you know what it sounds like when the beat is slightly shifting. Mind you, this is a lot easier to hear when you have just a simple downbeat held by the metronome and a simple beat that I'm playing on top of it, just one-on-one. If the downbeat was a G, like donsuku or dongo or some other pattern, and I was playing something else on top of it, it could be really hard to hear. Am I on? Am I slightly off? And even if you can hear, it's really hard to tell if it's on purpose or by accident. But the more you're aware of it, the more you're at least able to spot when it happens. So now you know what the shifting hit is, and you know what it sounds like, but how do you do it? I know of two ways you can do it, although there may be more, and I'm going to explain. So you need to understand the parts, the different aspects of a general strike. You have the approach to the strike when you lift up. You have the initiation of the strike when you start to come down. You have the pace, the velocity of the strike coming down, and then you have the actual attack, the point when you make contact. In general, our attack wants to line up exactly on the downbeat. So if this is my downbeat, I generally want to line up right on top of it. when I start, how fast I come down, all are a product of when I attack here. So you can kind of work backwards. Well, I want to hit here at a specific point, which means if I start here, I need to come down at this pace. If I start here, I can come down at this pace. We all make these mental calculations in our head, which are then manifested in our hands. The first version of this has the initiation starting the same way, but the pace changing. So if I've got my downbeat, this is the spot I'm trying to hit in relation to whatever, the metronome, the G, always trying to land at this spot. If my initiation stays the same, but I slow down the pacing, I'll land just outside of the beat. However, if the initiation stays the same and I speed up the pacing, I'll always land just inside of the beat. So it's kind of like missing, but it makes this sort of triangle shape. At least in my head, I have this visual of always starting at the same time, a little slower, a little faster. Or, of course, I can always come back right on the downbeat. This is version 1. Version 2 is the initiation is what changes. The pacing stays the same. So this is my downbeat. This is where I want to hit exactly. My initiation starts here. If I start my initiation a little bit later, but I keep the pace the same, well, I'm landing just to the outside like I did before. If I start my initiation a little earlier and have the same pacing, I strike to the inside, which kind of makes this shape more of a straight up and down shape versus the first version, which is more of a triangle shape, because my initiation always starts here on the first version, whereas my initiation will shift on the second version. Hopefully this makes sense. I've not really thought about how to explain it until this week making this video. It makes sense to me, and the shapes help me understand which version I'm trying to do. I'm going to do another short demo, and I'm going to try hitting exactly, slightly behind, slightly ahead. I'm going to line them up side to side so you can see what it looks like, and you can tell where the initiation starts, when the attack hits, the pacing of the pull down. But remember, it's the same tempo for all 3 strikes. Now, as a reward for those of you who have stuck around this long and didn't run off screaming, no, 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 I don't need to know this, I'm going to tell you why you might want to do it. And I feel like there's a couple of compelling reasons. Reason number 1, if you are the one holding tempo, let's say you're playing G on Shimed, if you've done this before, you know that the group, the other people, will rush or slow down. It happens. You do it when you're in the front and someone's holding the back. We're human, we're organic, and we move often as entire structures of people in one direction or the other. When the group starts to go one way or the other, a lot of times the person in the back plays louder, but sometimes when you play louder, they just play louder. And sometimes playing louder also makes them go faster. Not always the best choice. Other times, if this is the tempo you're playing at, and this is your group, and your group starts to get a little slow, what happens a lot is you or the person in the back will speed up. It's like, no, 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 we need to counter that. And so this group, some people figure it out, other people figure it out. You've got, for a little while, what I call a very crunchy song, because you've all these different tempos going on when you just want one. And it might take a while for people to come back in. It may take 5 seconds, but it feels like 5 years in that moment. Another thing that can happen though, let's say they slow down, you speed up, they keep speeding up, you slow down, and so you have this push and pull until it finally levels off. Again, this could take a while. It may not be a long time, but it certainly feels like it. So, by using a shifting hit on the G, let's say your group slows down. Instead of trying to make the gap bigger by making it very obvious, hey, we're slowing down, I'm going to speed up. If you shift the hit just a little bit, people are still going to hear, they're going to feel it. It may take longer for people to come across, but it's a lot more subtle when they do. In other words, there's not this big gap where multiple tempos can happen. There's a small gap where even if multiple tempos happen, it blends in a lot easier. This will pull people in. Potentially, not everyone's going to follow, with a lot less consequence and a lot less chance of this happening because people don't need to overcorrect. They only need to correct a little bit. Reason number 2, this is a difficult technique, but it's valuable to practice because it increases your technique sensitivity. We talk a lot about, well, I talk a lot about eye-hand coordination, especially when I'm teaching martial arts and in teaching Taiko. The speed that my hands are reacting to what I'm seeing and how one influences the other. But this technique will influence what you play based on what you hear on smaller, detailed, more nuanced levels than just, I'm playing too loud, I'm playing too fast. This is a lot more refined, while difficult, absolutely worth pursuing. And reason number 3, expression. Being able to shift the beat slightly allows a lot more expression, especially when you're soloing. Now, rather than try to explain this and maybe get my point across, I'm gonna do one more demo. I'm gonna solo. I'm gonna play a little shifty back and forth, and then I'm gonna do a bigger version where I actually start just warping the tempo. But when you know how to shift the beat slightly, then you know how to shift the beat a lot in a much more comfortable place. And you can almost disregard tempo because you know exactly where you are, where the downbeat is, and you feel like you have mastery over the situation. That kind of confidence absolutely builds into your solos. And I give you the shifting hit. Now, some of you are probably thinking, this is not for me, this is too high above my level, I don't have the skills for it, etc., etc. No, stop that. I'm gonna challenge you. Everything was at one point above your skill level until you did it. When you think about how far you have come, whether you've played for 10 years, 1 week, whatever, there were things that you didn't think you could do and you're now doing them. So by telling yourself, I can't do that, that's just postponing what might be the inevitable. Why not tell yourself, yeah, I can do that, maybe not today, but maybe later. And by practicing it now, you ensure that you're on that path. Now, you may not be pulling this out of your tool belt every time you play, but just having it there, knowing it's there, your brain, your subconscious being aware of it, that's something. That's more than you might have had before you watched this video. You might already be using this skill and not aware of it, and now being aware of it gives it more strength. I don't know. This is just one of those things I put out there, and all of these little things, all of these little seeds start growing at different rates, but you have to water it and you have to give it nutrients. In other words, you have to keep trying. So until next time, keep on practicing and be well.